Hurry up, Mac, Vince whispered. I nodded and slid the key into the small slot on the combination dial. I had to wiggle the key a little as I turned it, but eventually a metallic click was followed by the creak of a locker door swinging open. We were in. I wasn't sure exactly what we'd find, but I remembered from my meeting with Jackie Boy that he carried around a notebook of all the bets he'd taken. I just hoped he'd kept it at school. His locker was a disaster, and we found a surprising amount of loose dollar bills and, oddly enough, a nice collection of little bundles of hair of all different colors. We looked at one another, resisted the urge to ask because none of us actually wanted to know, and then kept searching. Then I found it, nestled away in the back behind a huge geography textbook, his little notebook. I'm sorry. There you go. All right. We flipped it open and scanned the pages together using a small flashlight. When we got to page 13, that's when we saw it. Brady's name. And next to it, a staggering dollar amount with a negative symbol in front of it. Then, right after that in parentheses, Jakey Boy had scribbled, doesn't have the money, will pay back with major favor. We didn't want to believe it, but it doesn't get much clearer than that. Brady was our snitch. How could I have been so stupid? I blamed myself, really, for the information leak.
Which one's Brady? Yeah.
There's a lot of characters in here. Let's think on that one for a second. How could we have been so stupid? I blamed myself, really, for the information leak. The general rule was never to let anyone outside the business know what you're thinking. And I had broken that rule by bringing in Brady. He was one of the informed. Yeah. The little snitch. We should do to him what Ronald McDonald does to ketchup packets, Vince said. From the look in his eyes, I could tell it wasn't a joke. That's the thing about Vince that only I know. Most of the time, when people think he's only joking around, he actually is being serious. Joe laughed, but he didn't sound all that amused. We should make copies of this book. I was just about to agree when the hallway lights flicked on. We froze. That meant it was 7:05. Teachers would be showing up any minute. There just wasn't time. We shoved the book back into its hiding spot, slammed the locker shut, and took off sprinting toward the nearest exit. After removing our mask, we circled the block and came back in through another door as if we were just arriving. Yeah, a lot of them do have cameras. So sometimes in books, we have what's called a plot hole where we kind of just ignore something so that we can move the plot forward.
Like eating Hollywood.
Yeah. Like Hollywood does that too. I'm not saying that's what's happening in here. We don't know. They might be caught by cameras. But sometimes we just ignore those kinds of things because it's inconvenient to the plot. Later that day at lunch, Joe escorted Brady into my office. I'd had to fire someone only once before, and it hadn't been pleasant. Plus, I still liked Brady. I couldn't believe he would double-cross us like that. What's up, Mac? Why's everyone acting so serious? He asked as he sat down. The jig's up, Brady. It's over, I said. He shook his head and furrowed his brow. Don't play dumb, Brady. I know what you've been doing, I said. Mac, I'm not sure what you mean, he said slowly. I think you do know, I said. And it's over. You're fired. Why are you doing this, Mac? What about Fred? Who will watch over him? I need to be here. I need the job, Mac, he said. His face fell, and I could tell he was dropping the act. I admit that I got into a bit of trouble. I mean, I guess I owe a lot of money to Staples, but I swear I'm on your side. That's why I'm on your side. I can't ever pay back what I owe, so my only chance is to help you take out Staples before he takes me out. You know what? I asked him. I just don't care. I'm sick of being lied to, whether you're telling the truth or not. I just can't trust you anymore. But, he started, and then seemed to give up. He knew he was had. Goodbye, I said coldly. I wanted him to break down. I didn't feel comfortable punishing him any further without a full confession, but he just started crying tears of guilt and buried his face in his hands. I nodded at Joe. He lifted Brady out of his chair and escorted him out of the bathroom. I spent the rest of lunch convincing Great White, Nibby, and Kitten to stay on board with our business after what had happened to the other bullies. Then I told him all about the rat and the note I found in my locker. I wanted everybody to be careful, just in case, to try and stick together as often as possible, and I agreed to up their pay a little in light of the increased danger of working for me. At afternoon recess, I organized another meeting between Joe, Vince, and me that night at Vince's place. It was probably an especially dangerous time for us to be meeting near the creek, given the threats we'd received. But it was also important that we rotate our meeting places. Besides, it was kind of fun to visit my old trailer park once in a while. The purpose of this meeting was to move up the ladder. Now that we had our snitch situation taken care of, it was time to strike a real blow against Staples. We need a new plan, I said, as the three of us played video games in Vince's room. I think we need to go straight to the top this time. What? We can't go over after Staples. We'd get wasted. I heard he's got a pit bull chained up in his office, Joe said.
That's the timer for 9:28, I said.
All right.
Oh,
It is time to pack up.